In this second video on the prospective dispatch application, we'll take a closer look at some of the more advanced features of the application itself. Building on the topics covered in Dispatch Part 1, we'll continue to look at the dispatching process, starting with updating the dispatch details, viewing SOPs, and using the messages. We'll then show you a few more filtering options before wrapping up this session by looking at how to schedule known events. Let's start with the dispatch details. When the details of a dispatch need to be updated, select the dispatch and then click the Details button from the main toolbar. At the top of the window are some of the basic details, including the dispatch number, created date, work zone, and who the dispatcher is. Also here are the different dispatch states. Above each will be the time that the state occurred. In this case, the dispatch was new as of 1:48 p.m. We can see that it was assigned as of 2:04 p.m. Our officer was en route as of 2:05, and they were on scene as of 2:09 p.m. Below this, if any RTAs are still in progress, they will be listed, and dispatches may have multiple RTAs. So clicking on the drop-down, if visible, will display those other RTAs. A side toolbar allows you to review or add additional information as well. The task section will display any already created officer tasks and responses, as well as any organization response details. The service requests is typically used to capture the details of any organization-related request actions. These could be actions that aren't as urgent, such as maintenance requests or other non-emergency related service actions. To add a request, click the Add button, and then add the appropriate details in the window on the right. Once added, the request will be visible in the Dispatches window, with an icon appearing in the Services column of the dispatch. Clicking this icon will reopen the dispatch details specifically to this service request information page. Next are the person, organization, vehicle, and item logs. These areas allow you to document the people, organizations, vehicles, and items that are involved in this event. In these sections, we can search our existing prospective records and select a person, organization, vehicle, or item, or you can add new when they do not already exist. The process is the same no matter which log we're looking at. So we'll see this by adding a couple of people and a vehicle to the respective logs. To add a person, click the Add button, and then in the search field, begin to type the name of the individual. This will search your existing people from your prospective data forms. If the person has a record in your system, select them as needed. If the person does not already exist, click the Add button, and then in the fields on the right, add the first and last name of the person, indicate their involvement type, and then any relevant notes. Again, in a similar manner for vehicles, we can search our existing prospective vehicle data forms, or add new when a record doesn't already exist. Next is the attachments section. If any relevant files should be attached to this dispatch, they can be added here by either drag and drop or browsing to the file location and selecting it. Once selected, we could also add a description if needed. The final area in this details is a messages window. As discussed in our Part 1 video, the messages can be used as a place to keep dispatch-related notes and or details from communications between a dispatcher and responding officer or from other dispatchers. This messages area will display any already added notes or messages, and from here, new ones could be added as well, but this is something we'll take a closer look at in just a bit. Overall, there is a fair bit of detail that could be seen and updated in this details window, all of which can be updated at any time by selecting the dispatch and clicking the details button again. SOPs, or standard operating procedures, are a good way to ensure certain steps, procedures, and policies are followed in the event that a specific activity takes place. In this version of dispatch, the SOP must be opened manually. You'll know that an SOP is linked to the dispatch by seeing an icon appear in the SOP column for that dispatch. This is also where you can open the SOP by single-clicking the icon or single-clicking on the dispatch and then clicking on the SOP button from the main toolbar. The functionality of an SOP allows for a checklist, and as tasks or items are completed, they can be checked off. Attachments or links can be used as a resource for reviewing additional information, policies, or other procedures. And email notifications could be sent to alert people to the occurrence of the activity. If a notification exists for that SOP, it may have the addresses of those people that need to be notified, as well as the subject and message already entered. Whether these have been defaulted or not, the dispatcher can update any of these specific details prior to clicking the send button. Another bit of dispatch review detail can be the locations. After selecting a dispatch and clicking the Locations button from the main toolbar, a window will open that shows the details of that location. In here, you can see the address details, any site notes, and a more global view of all of the dispatches and officer tasks for that specific location. Now, let's take a closer look at the messages. There are two types of messages that we could see in this panel: dispatch-related messages and single or personal conversations. We'll first look at the dispatch-related messages. Dispatch-related messages will appear listed in this panel by the dispatch number. Prior to the release of our mobile dispatch application, these details will be added by dispatchers and can be quick updates on the dispatch or the notes of conversations between themselves and the responding officers. Once the dispatch has been closed, these details will then be transferred to the activity notes section on the activity data form that is created from this dispatch. If there is a need to bring other users into this message string, click on the Invite button at the bottom of the window. From the displayed list, select the other user or users, and then click the Invite button. Those other users will then have to accept the invitation to join, at which point they will see these message details. New messages or conversations can also be started between other users. These would be considered more private messages, which are not associated with a specific dispatch. In the Messages panel, these would be listed as single. At the bottom of the window, click the New button, and then select the user or users to start the new conversation with. Again, once the other user accepts the invitation, you and this other user can then start a personal conversation. If you're ready to leave a conversation, click the Leave button at the bottom of the window. This will remove it from your Messages panel. As shown in our Part 1 video, we can advance the status of dispatches by selecting the tasks that are associated to the dispatch, and then by clicking the appropriate status button at the bottom of the panel, or by right-clicking and selecting the appropriate status. Once a dispatch has run its life cycle, where all officer tasks and dispatched organizations have been cleared, the dispatch can be closed. Select the dispatch, and then click the Close button at the bottom of the Dispatches panel. A new window will open where you can indicate if a report is required or not. Basically, do more details need to be added to the activity record within prospective data forms once this is closed and removed from the dispatch panel. If left as no, you're basically indicating that all of the required information has already been added and no additional details or follow-up is required. If yes is selected, you're indicating that additional details need to be added and more follow-up is required, at which point you can change who the record owner should be. This will typically be the person that will take responsibility for the record once it has been closed. Closed dispatches will be removed from the Dispatches panel. By clicking on the Closed button in the main toolbar, we'll open a new window where you can view all of the closed dispatches. Here, you can view some of the original dispatch details, as well as see the prospective activity number that is assigned to this dispatch. Taking a closer look at the Officers panel, we can see that as officers are cleared from tasks they complete, then their status in this window updates back to Available. When an arrow appears on the line to the left of the officer, this indicates that the officer has one or more tasks that have not been cleared yet. For any uncleared tasks, if you need to change the priority of the task, select one of them and click the appropriate up or down arrows at the bottom of the panel to reorder the task list. Additional functionality here allows you to change the status of your officers. If an officer is due for a break or is otherwise unavailable for tasks, select the officer and then click the Set State button at the bottom of the panel, or right-click and select Set State. Then choose the appropriate busy state from the displayed list. Should the last known location of an officer need to be updated, this can be done by selecting the officer and then clicking the Set Location button. Here you can type the name of the location or use the map to select a location. Now that we have a busier looking interface compared to where we started in Dispatch Part 1, we can better show some of the filtering and focusing on some pieces of information in these panels. Clicking on the arrow on the right side of the dispatches, officers, or map panels will expand the filter options for that particular window. In the case of your dispatches, you can filter these by work zone, dispatch status, priority, and organization status. In the officers panel, you can filter by team and officer state. And in the map panel, you can filter by tasks, officers, dispatches, and by location. Another feature that we have seen but not spent a lot of time talking about is the autofocus. When enabled, as indicated by the light blue color, the focus of the data in the panel will adjust accordingly from a selection in another panel. For example, when a dispatch is selected, the map will display the dispatch location. Selecting a task on a dispatch will select the officer assigned that task in the officers panel, and so on. Autofocus can be disabled to lock a piece of information in a panel. So for example, if we deactivate the autofocus in the map panel, this will lock the current view. Now, when a new dispatch or officer task is selected, we'll see that the map does not change focus. Clicking on autofocus again will turn this feature back on. The final topic that we'll cover in this video will be the schedule. The ability to schedule known events can be a huge step saver in any dispatch environment, whether this is just a single event or a recurring event. Scheduled dispatches can be viewed and created by clicking on the Schedule button in the main toolbar. Initially, we can see a list of the scheduled events, and to the left of this list are alternate view options for viewing these scheduled dispatches, either daily, weekly, or monthly. To add a new scheduled dispatch from the list, click the Add button, and then complete the details for the dispatch in the exact same manner as we saw when creating new dispatches. Then, in the Schedule Time section at the top of the window, begin with the start time of the event. And then if this is to be a recurring event, select the most appropriate recurrence, and then range. Now when the scheduled date time hits, a copy of the dispatch will appear in the Dispatches panel. From there, you can open up the details as we saw earlier, review and/or edit the dispatch, and apply officer resources as needed. Finally, as a reminder, when you're ready to log out of the application, click on your name in the top right-hand corner of the window and select Log Out.